Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the spill every week. Also, like and comments, I know what storylines you'd like me to do in the upcoming episodes. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out this weekend, and I feel like I kind of been neglecting these guys a little bit because I've had my head buried in Ultimates and an all-new X-Men. So with this video, I just want to sprinkle a little bit in the mix. So if you guys are new here, what I usually like to do is take a story arc and cover it from start to finish. And sometimes that means jumping between different series, but I mainly do it this way so we don't digress from the main subject, unless it's totally necessary. So in this video, I want to talk about Planet of the Symbiotes, where each one of the Guardians actually wears a symbiote, and they actually visit the planet where the race of Symbian originate from. And we'll check it out right after this. So the story kind of picks up here at Nowhere, and Drax is pretty much taking Flash Thompson shopping for new weaponry because he's new to the whole Beyond Earth scene. And you can tell because pretty much everything he looks at, he's totally amazed and blown away by. And the whole reason that he's here stems from a Superior Spider-Man storyline, where essentially Doc Ock switches bodies with Peter Parker and continues as Peter Parker, calling himself the Superior Spider-Man. And he fools quite a few people playing this role, including Flash Thompson. Like, he even convinces Flash to meet him at his laboratory to give him new prosthetic legs. But really it was a trick so he can steal the symbiote from him, which he was successful at doing, and that's how we got the whole Superior Venom. And just let me know in the comments if you want me to cover more on that. But what's crazy, even though the symbiote is bonded to Ock in Peter's body, the symbiote knows that something is off. And just so you guys know, when a host is bonded to a symbiote, they share everything, their memories, all of that. But in this case, Doc Ock has all of Peter's memories since he's in his body. So the symbiote didn't understand 100% what was off, it just knew that something wasn't right. But Flash gets the symbiote back by using Iron Man's armor, and by being the only person who can sneak up to him without triggering his spider sense, because he still has traces of the symbiote within him. And Spider-Man's spider senses can never pick up the symbiote. And they tried to get Flash to find out through the symbiote what was going on in Parker's head, but the symbiote never got a clear answer. Said it was like two radio stations playing at the exact same time. All it read mainly was a bunch of confusion because Parker was still in there, just that Doc Ock was mainly at the wheel. So the main reason we see Flash here with the Guardians is because the Avengers do want to maintain a connection with them, but they also want to keep the symbiote as far away from Spider-Man as they can because he's acting strange. So getting back to Flash and Drax here, as soon as they walk into the weapons shop, the dealer recognizes the symbiote that Flash is wearing. And initially he doesn't want to sell to him till Drax shows him the money, then he's like, "Hey buddy, what can I get you?" And Drax is like, "My homeboy here need an upgrade. He got these earth guns and they ain't gonna cut it out here." And the dealer is mad disrespectful. He's like, "You better off trading those at the Tyler Pavilion." Because out here, human weapons are considered children's toys. But here we see Flash doing exactly what you don't want to do, leaving a gun store, running outside and pointing at everybody. But the conversation inside did spark a few questions for Flash about the symbiote and where it came from and what the guy behind the counter knew. But as soon as Flash tries to ask Drax about it, he's abducted by the Shi'ar. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into Drax's abduction in this video. I may talk about it a bit more with the trial of Jean Grey, how she gets abducted by the Shi'ar as well. But for the sake of this story, I'll just leave that right there. We may cover it in all new X-Men as we continue that series. But one thing I want to point out here is how easily Venom is subdued as they take Drax, because symbiotes are nothing new to these people out here. They've seen them before. Now, they do mention that it's not too often you see one on a human, but they have seen plenty before. So most authorities and bounty hunters especially know how to subdue them quickly. And for that reason, the Shi'ar was able to disable Venom just long enough so when the symbiote got back intact with Flash, it was too late at that point and there was just nothing he could do. Which leaves him by himself for some time, and he's trying to go around and find and see if he can find some help to contact his friends. And then he bumps into the Avengers, like right in the middle of nowhere, perfect timing. So Flash is like, "Wow, how did you guys know I was lost?" And they're all saying something different here. Beast is like, "Man, you made a lot of noise, wasn't hard to find you." Captain Britain's like, "You remember that Civil War? Yeah, well the mutants had their own and we need your help stopping it." And Black Widow's like, "It's your sister Jessie." So Flash is freaking out. It's like a whole lot of stuff coming at him at the same time. And he's like, "Hey guys, you didn't need to come at all. Not for me at least." And this is where it gets weird in like an eerie way. Beast, Widow, and Hawkeye are like the story was too big, too elaborate, too specific. And Captain Britain's like, "I had it." Kind of in a shut up before he finds out what's really going on kind of way. And right there, the symbiote flips out and the Avengers open fire on Venom. And you see Venom just dive back and shoot kind of in confusion and desperation because he has no idea why the Avengers are trying to shoot him down. And they sent him out here in the first place. So right here, Venom sees an opportunity to do some quick flips to get up out of there, but he's shot down in his attempt. And just before he blacks out, he sees the Avengers turn into Skrulls. Like it was Skrulls the whole time. And while Flash is unconscious, they separate him from the symbiote because they want to flip it and make some money. And they're being complete jerks. They're teasing him because he's handicapped. They're shapeshifting into his friends. And they're even asking him, do you know what this symbiote's worth? And this folly is going to end up being their demise. And while they're heading to their destination, the Skrulls are having a conversation of, hey, let's try it out. Because they figure, hey, if it doesn't work out, we know how to subdue the creature without harming the host. And Flash is over here on the side like, hey, I really wouldn't do that. That is not a good idea. And Flash even goes as far to say, hey, don't you know who I am? I'm an Avenger. Which means nothing when you're on the backside of the universe. Saying this is like the equivalent of going to China, Cuba, or Angola and saying, freeze, LAPD, you're under arrest. Like, you are way out of your jurisdiction. But of course, as you would guess, they pay him no mind and they continue with the attempt of bonding the symbiote with one of the Skrulls. And initially it appears to be a success. The other Skrulls are telling him that he's found favor with God, because remember, in the bonding process, the host and the symbiote have to be perfectly aligned with one another. It has to be a perfect match for it to work and not become a total disaster. And you can see Flash in the corner over there like, these idiots, here it comes. And at a moment's notice, it just turns into a horror flick. And the symbiote is murdering these dudes left and right. And the Skrull host is begging for his life. He's begging for the life of his friends, but it's to no avail. And when the symbiote returns back to Flash, the Skrull host asks him, like, why did you forsake me? Like, why? How? Like, why wasn't I worthy? And he doesn't even get an answer. Like, when Flash gets the symbiote back, he's just like, I warned you. And that's all he says before he ends him. But from here we see Flash trying to stay low key, find his way back to Earth. And we see this guy at the bar who's had one too many to drink, and he's bragging about how he's been to Earth and it wasn't too long ago that he was just there. Just talking a lot of craziness. So Flash ends up following this guy when he leaves the bar, pretty much waiting for the right time to confront him so nobody really sees this happening, because remember, he's still trying to keep it low key. But I love it how he does this. He's like, you're gonna take me to Earth. You know how to get there, you're gonna take me there. But dude just turns around and cusses him out. So Venom's just like, okay, you need convincing. So he goes super scare mode on him, and dude confesses that he can't take him, and Venom doesn't like that. And then he confesses that he's never even been there, because by law you're not really allowed to go. And at this point he knows he's dead because he's meaningless to him. And keep in mind too, there are a number of things going on with the symbiote, and this is not 100% Flash here, because when symbiotes jump from body to body, host to host, they pick up traits from those hosts, and if the host was a killer, they'll become a killer as well too. So we skip over and see Flash here at the same weapon shop that Drax took him to initially. And Flash is really here just to get answers. He doesn't know the history of the symbiote, he just knows that something's wrong and it's getting worse. And right here's where we see Gamora enter into the shop, claiming she needs some service or repair with the blade housing of her weapon. And she sees Flash and immediately tells him, hey, the guard has been looking all over the galaxy for you. And Venom just flips straight into attack mode. You can tell he's like super paranoid. He's like, you're out here to kill me. Gamora even tells him right here, like, dude, you're losing this. And part of the way that we see there's a bigger tear between the symbiote and Flash, she tries to communicate with Flash inside of there and says, if there's any piece of you left in there, say something now. And when he doesn't respond, she continues fighting him, but only to lure him out a little bit further into position. Because her walking into the shop wasn't a coincidence, but it was a setup. The Guardians had been following Flash for some time at this point, and they were waiting for the right moment to separate him from the symbiote and contain the symbiote as well. And when this happens, Flash admits that he wasn't in control. He has no idea how this is happening, and he's not even sure how they got the symbiote off of him. But Star-Lord helps clear it up, letting Flash know that he was given some tech from Tony Stark just in case Venom got out of hand. So once they got back on the ship, Flash is pretty much still unconscious. And Rocket's like, hey, we need to make a more stable container to hold that symbiote because it's trying to get out of that little jar like crazy. But the symbiote actually pokes a hole in the side of the canister where it releases and attaches itself to Groot. And while Groot's over there struggling, all you hear is him say, I am, and then next thing you know is I am Venom. And the symbiote has bonded with Groot. And Rocket's totally freaking out, and I don't blame him, because from here on, it kind of goes straight Ridley Scott on here. It's like you got 6 people stuck on this ship with this alien, and the experience is just totally horrifying. And the first one to counter Groot Venom's attack is Drax, of course. And it doesn't go well. He gets flung straight into the control board for the ship, which causes the entire ship to go on this crazy haywire route, which is shaking everything up at the same time. They're nearly hitting into asteroids. Everything's flipping like all over the place. Walkman flipping around. You got Space Bucks coffee even a spill over. And I hope they had that Space Bucks in the movie, by the way. Just saying. But Peter quickly jumps to the controls before they steer and crash into something crazy. But just at the nick of time, as you see, they barely avoid hitting that asteroid. And Rocket is pleading here like, we got to do something. We got to help Groot. And Gamora's like, okay, we'll just take him out of his misery. He's like, nah, not like that. But Peter and Rocket hit Groot with some non-lethal rounds that are good enough to get the symbiote off of him, with the help of Drax, who's just pounding on the symbiote with his bare hands. But that's enough to get Groot in the clear, so Rocket starts letting off with some more heavier rounds. And at that point, the symbiote just flees, leaving the whole place trashed. And Peter's like, yeah, we gotta use that doohickey that Stark gave us to stop this thing. But I dropped it somewhere. And Gamora's like, you dropped it somewhere, we gotta find it. And at the same time, Rocket and Groot are flipping out because they're like, yo, we gotta get back to the human because the symbiote's more likely going back to him now. But surprisingly enough, Flash is still out cold. Like, he has no clue of any of this going on. And Gamora's like, yo, we just need to dump him and his pet in outer space and just be done with it. And Peter's like, nah, we can't do that. And being that Flash was sent out here to these guys, Peter feels a bit responsible for him. So that just wouldn't be right. And it wouldn't send a good message to the Avengers. But as they continue their search for the symbiote, we got Drax, Rocket, and Groot searching the other end of the ship together. And once again, I gotta say, this really takes me to that Ridley Scott kind of tone when they're searching for the alien, they're hunting it down, and it's also hunting them at the same time. Because right here, we get that classic line from Rocket, did you hear that? And as soon as he says it, the symbiote creeps down and grabs him. And it's always the guy in the back. Like, you never stay in the back when you're in a group and you're looking for an alien. But Drax is the coolest, calmest person in this situation. It's like, no worries, I got this. Just keep still and I'm gonna chop your arm off. But at this point, the symbiote's bonded and it's too late because you got Rocket Venom or Venom Raccoon. See, the two-word names just makes it tricky. We'll just call him Venom Rocket for the sake of the video. And he forms these guns with his hands, and I have to say, I've never seen a symbiote do this before. With the exception of Peter Parker, who made the webbing cartridges, so when the symbiote bought into him, all of a sudden it could shoot webbing. It's almost the same thing here, where you have Rocket who makes his gun, and it bonds to him with the gun. Now it's making these crazy guns. And over to the side, Peter and Gamora are watching this like, okay, this is unbelievable. This is crazy. But Peter also notices the Stark tech that he dropped earlier while the whole ship was flipping around. So he goes for it in hopes that they can soon end this. But as soon as he picks it up, Rocket shoots it out of his hand, destroying it. And he has Peter and Gamora at a standoff here. And he doesn't want to kill him, he says, because Peter's always done right by him. But he does tell them they need to go because he needs the ship. And you can tell Peter wants to talk to him and figure out where he wants to go because he tells Gamora to back down because he doesn't want to engage. But Drax goes in anyway and he reaches for the symbiote and it immediately bonds to him, creating yet another Venom. Drax Venom. And I ain't gonna front, Drax with this thing on looks like what nightmares are made of. Like, it ain't pretty at all. And you can see how it adapts to Drax and his weapon of choice, which is the knives and the blades. But from right here, we skip back over to Flash, and he's still knocked out. So he's having this dream here about him and Valkyrie kind of sparring in the ring, you know, getting a little hot and steamy. But in the middle of his dream, she gets choked up by one of the symbiotes. And I believe this is because the connection between him and the symbiote is kind of giving him signals that his friends are in danger. Not even like intentionally, but subconsciously maybe. And this wakes him up. And as he gets up to check things out, he sees Rocket's hand hanging out and he expects the worst. But as he goes to check on Rocket, he notices that he still has a pulse and he's still breathing. But right after that, he notices the symbiote still bonded to Drax is flying the ship and says, "We're here. We are home." And this is huge, man, because this is the first time we actually see the planet that the symbiotes come from. And Flash is losing his mind here because as soon as they fly in, the planet just grabs the ship. And Flash can't say nothing but, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, he is flipping out right now. But as soon as the planet grabs hold of the ship, the symbiote releases Drax and dips out. But as soon as Drax is released, he goes for Flash, man. Like, he goes in on him. But Peter and the crew wake up in time to stop him from nearly killing him. But Gamora's still on that throw him off the ship idea. She ain't letting that go. But when they look at the hull of the ship, they start to notice where they actually are. At a planet off any existing maps, the planet of the symbiotes. So Drax is like, yo, we need to get out of here immediately. But Gamora and the others are kind of intrigued because it's not like they're attacking the ship. It's like they're outside with more of a peaceful welcome. And Flash is like, I got to go out there. I got to engage. There's so many questions I have that I need answered. And this is the only way I can get this done. And in a moment here, we're going to be brought to the realization of how big this moment was for the original symbiote to return home after all these years and after bonding with so many different types of hosts. And when Flash goes out there, he's communicating with the symbiotes and they just want to talk. And he's like, hey guys, if I thought this was dangerous for a second, I wouldn't tell you to come out here. So surprisingly enough, Groot is the first one to actually engage and have a symbiote bond with him. And shortly after that, the other Guardians follow. And at this moment, all of the Guardians are made aware of the history of the symbiotes and the true nature of their virtuous race. Because none of them are created evil, but any one of them can be corrupted by bonding to an evil host. And when they bond here, they give them the history saying how they are a truly virtuous race with a warrior mentality, but still have a desire to help those who can't help themselves. And perfect symbiosis is their ultimate goal, because they need a host to carry out these virtuous deeds, but that host also has to line up with these goals and these morals that the symbiote carries. And they also go on to say because that balance is so delicate that there's very few races and individuals that can bond successfully with the symbiote. And going back to what they're saying about the symbiote being corruptible, they even state that if the host has a chemical imbalance or if they're literally crazy, that can affect the symbiote directly as well too. And Carnage is a prime example of that. But they also let us know that there's been worse cases with more horrific results. And this is crazy because the symbiotes they're connected to now are sharing these memories with them and also seeing their memories at the same time. But after teaching them all of this, they tell the Guardians they are grateful for bringing Flash Thompson, recognizing the old symbiote as a hero and granting him with a new one with new abilities. Alright guys, but that'll do it for this one. Let me know what you think about the symbiote running through the whole squad pretty much. And if you got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can catch all our other videos coming on the weekly series. And share it with a friend who's going out to see Guardians this weekend as well too. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Alright, later.